I certainly think that's the fastest I've ever done that journey. Did you notice, though, how many different streets I came down to get from home to here? There are streets in every town, village and city, and usually the bigger the place, the more streets there are. Some are very busy, full of traffic and people. Others are much quieter, with hardly anyone about. Some are called roads. Others have names like avenue, drive, walk or lane. This street where I'm standing now is simply called Strand on the Green. Whether you're driving like me or walking, we use the streets for getting from one place to another. You probably go down quite a few different streets on your journey to school in the morning.
Bye, Mom. Bye, Calvin.
Amanda's route to school begins in High Street, the street where she lives. It's long and narrow with houses on either side, and usually there's not much traffic about. Before she gets too far up, she crosses over. On this side, she passes one of the few shops in the street. It's the local fish and chip shop. At this point along her route, Amanda has to cross another road, but this time it's a busy main road. There's a lollipop lady here to help her. In front is a petrol station. To get to school, Amanda has to walk right round it. This takes her into the rest of High Street. I bet she wishes the petrol station wasn't there. When she gets to the top of High Street, she turns right into another busy road, one full of shops, and again she has to cross. This time there's a pelican crossing to help her. Do you know what the bleeps are for? On this side, Amanda walks past a hardware shop where she turns left into a quiet side street. But this is another street she has to cross before at last she can get into the one that leads her up to school. At school, Amanda showed me her route on a map she had drawn from memory.
This is my house here, number 29 High Street. Come out from my house, go up past the alley and cross at the church, over the road to the fish and chip shop. Then I go up the rest of High Street, stop just on the edge of Wilford Road, and I go across the road with Lollipop Lady, and then I go up the rest of High Street there to the old Five Bells, and then I cross over that road, the rest of High Street, and then I go up, cross with the Pelican crossing, and then I go up Bective to school.
But does it really look like that? Well, this is one way of finding out. From up here, everything looks quite different. We're now looking down on things instead of looking up. Let's fly back to the area where Amanda lives. On the way, see if you can spot any of the streets she walked along. Somewhere down there is Amanda's house. The problem is finding it. To help us, her father parked their caravan in the front drive. Let's take a closer look. Can you see the caravan? Her house is just to the right of it. Now, Amanda began her journey by walking up High Street to a church, where she said she crossed over. But really, she crossed much further up, just opposite the fish and chip shop. The next stop was the busy main road. Remember the lollipop lady? Amanda then walked round the garage and up to the old Five Bells. Here she turned right and walked along to the Pelican Crossing. She then turned right, left across another street and into the one that takes her up to school. From up here, we're not really looking straight down on things. If we were, it would look like this. Just like a map. Amanda's house is down here, and her school is up here. Can you spot her route? Well, here's a couple of clues to help you. The lollipop lady and the Pelican Crossing. Now, watch. Aerial views like this are used to make maps. This map shows how all the space on the ground is used. The dark areas are buildings. Lots of other things are shown, including the trees. Can you spot them? What maps don't usually show, though, is traffic and people, both of which you find in every street. The problem is they're always on the move. One way of finding out about traffic and people in the streets is to do a survey, as these children did. They divided into groups, one group for each street. The first group took the street with all the shops in it. That's this street here. The other groups took the other streets leading into it. The survey began at 11 o'clock. In the busiest streets there were 4 children, 2 counting traffic and 2 pedestrians. The traffic was sorted into buses, cycles, motorbikes, vans, lorries, and of course, cars. The pedestrians were sorted into adults and children. While doing the survey, the children remembered to keep well away from the edge of the pavement. The survey lasted half an hour. The results went on a chart, one chart for each street. In Alexandra Terrace, for example, they counted 307 cars, 10 buses, 55 lorries, 11 bikes, 15 motorbikes, and 59 vans, and pedestrians, 455 adults, and 122 children. For each street, they then added everything together. The busiest street was Alexandra Terrace. It's the one that all the other streets lead into, and it's on a busy bus route. The quieter street was Ruskin Road. Hardly anyone went along that. Perhaps you can think why. Of all the streets leading into Alexandra Terrace, that's this one here, 3 were not quite so busy. 4 were much quieter. And 2 were hardly used at all. They were both no-through roads. But these aren't the only streets in the area. There are others, although none of them are what you'd call busy. A few are quiet minor roads. The rest are even quieter, mostly cul-de-sacs and crescents, streets where people live. They're all part of a whole network of streets that feed traffic and people into Alexandra Terrace. No wonder it's such a busy street. It's the most important one in the area. And that makes it a good street for people to have their shops. These are all local shops, the kind that are used for day-to-day shopping. Some of the banks have small branches here. And there's also a car park for all the shoppers. These children were recording the types of shops along the street. Before they started, they made a list of shops they expected to find, and they gave a code letter to each type. Clothes shops were grouped with shoe shops and given a code letter C. Alexandra Terrace isn't the only important and busy street in this town. Minor roads in other areas too lead into busy streets like Alexandra Terrace. In turn, these all lead traffic and people into a much more important part of the town centre. Here, all the streets are busy. And the pavements hardly seem wide enough for all the people. This is another place where there are shops. It's the main shopping centre in the town. There are banks here too. And right in the heart of this town, there's a market. If this is what you'd find in the centre of a town, what would you expect to see in the centre of a village? Here there's just the village green surrounded by a row of old cottages. It doesn't look a bit like a town centre, does it? But there is one thing that's the same. It's the point where the roads meet, and they meet just over there. There are 4 main roads running into this village, and really they're the only streets that are here. There are 1 or 2 little lanes, but they're very narrow. Like the town centre, the village centre is the busiest part too. There aren't any banks or offices here, but there's a small post office, and there's the village pub. And then just the other side of the pond, there are 1 or 2 shops. I decided to pop into one of them to find out what kind of things they sold. I wonder what type of shop you would call this if you were doing a survey on the shops here. I think I've got the right money.
Thank you very much.
You sell just about everything here, don't you?
Yes, we do, yes. We sell medicines and wines and spirits, yes.
Are there many other shops in the village?
There's one other grocery shop, yes, and a post office, hairdressers, butchers. Yes.
So can the people here get most of the things they need?
Most things, but most of the young people go into town if they've got cars, you know.
The main roads in a village usually lead to nearby towns, which are often less than half an hour's car drive away. The roads are sometimes named after the towns they lead to. Many of them are market towns, like this one. And on market day, the centre is full of people who've travelled from surrounding villages. But despite all the people, this town is fairly small. There's quite a selection of shops. There are also banks and a few offices here. But there's no theatre or bingo hall or large office blocks in a town this size. To find them, you'd have to go to a much larger and more important town, like this one. Here there are huge office blocks where firms have their head offices, and there are also lots of factories. And in the town centre there are long, wide shopping streets with big department stores. This is Northampton. Here there's a much greater variety of shops, large and small. Some selling the kind of goods which are not bought very often, like jewellery and presents. On a busy day in Northampton, children from a local school did a survey on the people in the town centre.
Could you tell me where you come from, please?
Northampton.
What method of travel?
Bus.
What bus number is it?
26.
Why have you come into the centre?
To do some shopping.
Thank you. Thank you.
The children found that most people came to shop, and a lot of them came from Northampton. But they also found people who'd come in from villages and other less important towns dotted all around. It seems that the roads from the villages and towns lead traffic and people into one particular town, the most important one in the area. Just as in a town, the streets lead traffic and people to the most important place, the town centre. Maybe you can find out where your street fits into this pattern.